San Juan Islands are witnessing a period of significant change and development, with various major players influencing the island's future. A new development company, Brandywine Homes, has set sights on a large parcel of dense forest land northwest of Saturday Harbor. Their proposal envisions a new residential community with breathtaking views. The developer is collaborating with Mirkwood Lumber Co. to clear-cut the area for development. This initiative has sparked a mix of reactions among the island residents. In an effort to alleviate concerns and demonstrate a commitment to local interests, the lumber company proposes a permanent, sustainable forest industry on the islands which will provide jobs and revenue for the community. Additionally, some of the wood harvested on the islands will be used in the construction of new homes, ensuring a degree of local benefit from the development. However, this project's scale necessitates additional infrastructure. The new port area will need to be built along with the forestry industry before any clear-cutting will begin. Additionally, large amounts of gravel and fill will be required to build the port. The gravel pit owned and operated by Gulf Island Gravel Co. will need to be expanded. Once the forest area is cleared, the developer can proceed with building the community on the hill, complete with basic city services and a new elementary school. Hello, I'm Poplar Ponderosa and welcome to Part 7 of San Juan Islands, Canada. If this is your first time to the series, I recommend going back to Part 1, and if you're interested, check out the alternative history video that sets up the lore for this build. This build today is going to be quite large and require at least 2 episodes. In this episode, we will start by building a new small town that will support the forest industry and port. Then, we will expand the existing gravel pit. As usual, we'll get into some farm detailing in the Farm Valley area. And finally, I want to resolve a few issues on the wind farm. In following episodes, we will build out the port and get the forest industry operational and build out the residential community. Alright, let's get building. Okay, so moving up the coast here, northwest of Saturday Harbor, we have the location of our new industrial town. You'll see me here leveling out some land, and then I'm going to make the roads a little more flat so it'll be easy for us to build as we go on into this new little town. So yeah, here you can see me sloping up, making sure that things work a little bit better. The road I drew in earlier, just the grading wouldn't have worked very well, so this helps. Here I'm using some parking lot roads because I'm going to build in some little lanes for parking and also a gas station coming up soon. There I'm using the 3-lane asymmetrical road so that we have our turn lanes. I've got that on the 2 main roads. Here we're adding our parking lot roads back in. That little connection on the left side I actually end up getting rid of. You can see there it's now gone on the right. Adding in a little truck wash because this is going to be a fairly industrial area, so truck wash felt appropriate. And the gas station as well. It all felt a little bit far away from the main street, which I noticed is called Magnolia Street. Amazing that we have Magnolia County I was actually just watching earlier. So yeah, that's kind of neat. And we have Belmont Street, which I think is a street in Magnolia County, maybe? Probably. Anyway. Continuing on here, there was a little bit of detailing there just to make things look pretty. I continue the detailing later. This grid I'm starting to put out here is going to be for worker housing and access down to the future port. I had anarchy on here, so I had to clear out some trees. Using the surface painter here just to make things look a little bit better. I kind of go back and forth between building and detailing. Okay, tried to make things look a little more lush around some of the concrete there. It's part of the truck wash and gas station. I'm putting here the industrial area, and then I realized it might be a little too big, so I cut it down. I'm probably being a little too picky at this point. I think I can just make something and then expand it out as I need it, because I think this is going to change when I actually put in the forest industry assets. But right now I'm putting it in so that I can put in the main building for the forest industry. It kind of sits up on this hill, which I actually kind of like, off of this rural road. Here you can see me bobbing out some of the trees just because the vanilla trees that are in there don't really look so great. So I'm switching them out for, I believe I choose some Douglas firs. Yeah, there you go. Look a little nicer. I don't really like that they all look the same. Maybe I should have removed them all together and just put in my own. And then I take the same tree and I make sure that it's sprinkled into the area around there so it looks a little more natural and kind of blends into the area. Though those trees might go in the future as the forestry industry comes in. So this is the worker housing asset I was talking about before. It's a really nice one. I will put the name up on the screen because it's escaping me at the moment. And I had some issues with things not really being level and everything looking pretty janky, especially with those parking lots. And so I ended up just leveling all of the heights here and flattening things out. This area around the parking lot felt a little bit bare, and so I just put in some trees, kind of formalized a little bit of landscaping around the parking lot, make it feel a little more naturalized, I guess, for the people that live there. Just copy and pasting it over to the other lot, and then I switch out or bob out some of the trees that were on there already. Yeah, there's a few different trees on that asset, so I switched them out, I believe, for some lindens and some evergreens, and I found that looked a lot better. Yeah, here, when I lower that node, it kind of put the main building up on a hill, and I really like the way that looks. I'm just making sure that the stop signs are all correct here. Now you'll see me here making a little bit of a correction to what I was doing. I knew that I was going to put in some warehousing, and yeah, there you go. So I removed this asset and I copied it over to the other location. I could have just used move it to move it over, but I wanted to keep it in place in case some sort of mistake happened. And here you'll see me put in the warehousing. And now I've moved the worker housing away from that main road. So I guess it'll be a little quieter for the people that are actually living and working there. Although they will be next to these warehouses, so who knows how noisy it'll really be. Some of this also changes as I go through. These warehouse assets are really nice, and I end up kind of changing my mind a few times here on a few things, but I kept all the footage just so you could see my process and what I was thinking. So at this point I realized I should probably have a fire hall in the area, and I chose this. I believe this is the PNW fire hall from the workshop, and moved that warehouse over, then brought these decals back and made sure everything was level so you can actually see them. Do a little bit of detailing with fire engine prop. There I formalized a pedestrian path that can actually be functional through there. Before it was just some pavement, and I didn't think that people would actually be coming through. There was a fence there that I put in for some screening, and some trees as well that I just copied over from the forest. And they'll add a little bit of additional screening and just, I guess, some canopy in the area, because this region is fairly forested. Then extending out the pedestrian paths to make something a little nicer for people to walk on, and add some pedestrian connectivity, because everything before was just asphalt on the side of the road, which is probably acceptable for this kind of area. And some more detailing, adding those bollards, because that's more of a visual thing. Cars can't drive down there, it's just a pedestrian path, but it made it look like a rear lane for vehicles, which I kind of liked. Okay, so if we move up the farm valley, we get to our gravel pit, which is just over the hill from our new industrial town. You can see here there's actually quite a lot of ore deposited in the area. Instead of building a new gravel pit, what I'm actually going to do here is extend this existing quarry. And so I'll need to remove some assets, change the roads a little bit, and do some terraforming, which you'll see here. Got some surfaces and fence networks in there that I need to get rid of. I'll keep that main building so that I can keep the actual industry operational for now. Here I'm removing the trees where the resources exist. And then I think I did this off camera, but I did introduce the resources back in, the ore. Because if you looked back a second ago, you would have seen that the ore had been extracted from the area. Leveling out the main building there with this plateau I've created. And then I'll start putting in my road network in just a moment. Yeah, here I thought the road was a little bit steep, so just leveled out these access roads from either side. That's wonky right there, so that gets fixed up closer to 6%. That's much better. It's a gradual hill going up. There I have two accesses off that main road. I eventually actually cut that down to one main access, just to have less accesses on the, I guess you could call it a kind of arterial, even though it's a gravel road. Here I'm terraforming down different layers of the quarry itself, creating a midpoint for my path, sloping up, that's where my road's going to go. Yeah, here I decided to go just a little bit lower, and I found that looked quite a bit better. As I bring some assets in and build out the roads, I start to refine this terraforming a bit. That's the general shape. Here I'm adding a fence to just enclose the area. here goes our access road down into here. It's very dark there with the shadows. Maybe I should play with the lighting in future episodes. See if I can brighten up those areas a little bit. I guess I could have also changed the time of day, so we wouldn't have had the shadow in that location. Here I play around with node controller, kind of make these large sweeping turns that trucks would actually take, and then control the movements with TMPE lane connectors so that we can actually have some more efficient traffic management in the area. I think I eventually removed that other road that I put in, but I put it in to have another way for vehicles to move around within this space. Yeah, here you go. So I'm deleting these roads. You'll have to excuse my memory of what this is like. I actually recorded this maybe over a month ago, and I just have not had a chance to do any audio over this since then. Yeah, that's where I remove that little stub, and I head out the other way to create, I believe it's the ore pile. I think this worked out a lot better than having that stub from there with two accesses. Here we're just tightening things up a little bit, moving the assets in, and making some more space. You'll see coming up, I actually get a chance to sneak in a couple of city services. All right, so we're coming in here with our surfaces, trying to get this as close to the cliff as I can and still make it look good. I believe I also come in with some decals to kind of try and blend the edges a little bit better. I found this very tricky, and I'm not in love with the painter, the surface painter always. I think it's a great tool, but sometimes when it comes towards edges, and like that cliff texture is great, but as this surface texture for gravel comes up to it, it doesn't really blend well. Now this is a landfill asset actually, and it kind of looks like a pile of rubble or ore, and it works really well in this area and provides a city service. So it kind of has two functions there. Well, I guess one function, but visually it looks like it fits in with the area, which I really like. A little more fencing here to formalize the area, and I guess let people know when they're entering. Yeah, I noticed there was no fence along those steep cliffs, so I thought I'd add them in, just in case. Not that that tiny fence would stop a giant vehicle from going off the cliff there, but I guess at least it provides some sort of guidance and visibility. Coming back in with my forest brush, it's pretty strong, but I was trying to use it to hide some of those edges that weren't looking so great. You know, the edges of the surface, I mean. At this point, I'm starting to become pretty happy with how it looks. I have to adjust the industry area here. And there's the powerhouse I was talking about before. So I feel like that works just as a service building in the area, but also, you can see there's actually an electricity generation issue notification over at the main building. And so this provides a little power to this area, adding a little bit of details just because it's a pretty bare bones building. But also just adds some more power to the city overall, and while looking like it belongs in the build. I thought this spur here was a good spot for a bus stop. So a lot of the workers there would be coming in on some sort of shuttle, and they'd come to there from somewhere else. And later I actually set up a bus line from the new industrial town to there. And here you can see from our farms, you can't even see the quarry up in the hills, which I think is perfect. You can see it a little bit there. Barely. Nope. No, it's hidden. It's good. Love it. All right, let's move on. Okay, so we've moved back to our farm valley. If you've been following the series, you're probably pretty comfortable with this area by now. It's a large area, and it's taken a while to detail. I want to make sure that this feels like a real farm valley and organic, or, it kind of looks like it has some variety to it. And here you'll see me throwing in some fields and just separating them with some foliage. I have some other ideas for other spaces. I'll talk about that at the end. But there's still a lot of plots here to work with. These 3 fields were easy to put together, and from a distance they look like they kind of blend into the area. There's not a lot to them, but if you don't look too close, they look pretty good, in my opinion. I put in this diner, which I thought was a neat spot for a diner. Maybe a little too close to the corner, but maybe imagine it was here before anyone thought about that kind of stuff, when it was very rural and they weren't thinking about sightlines so much. That gas station I put in, and then I realized was actually a really bad idea, because that's right next to our water source. And there it goes, it's gone. Those 2 lakes there, or ponds, whatever you want to call them, are where we pump our water from for pretty much the entire city. So I didn't think that having a gas station right next to them was the best idea. I'm glad I realized that before it was too late. Here we're back at the co-op farm, which is just below this, I guess, from this perspective. And I'm trying to expand that concept. So the roads are a little more curved in this area versus the more harsh gridded section that you would have seen back in the area I was just working in a minute ago. Now this co-op farm area, they've just basically got a few houses around, and they've got some pretty basic fields. So you can imagine that people are working on the farm here and living here, and it's all owned by this co-op. This is kind of fencing to separate those fields and those farm areas. So maybe everybody owns like a little piece of it, but they get their own little area to work on. And the fencing can keep in, animals or whatever's going on there. This area is going to be kind of like an RV park or a mobile home park. And I looked at a few examples of these kind of things, and they usually have kind of a circular route to them. Some of them are very straight and rigid, others are curved. I went for this sort of egg shape, I guess you would call it. And put lots of houses around that are basically the same, so it's kind of like almost like a manufactured home park. Putting some paths between, imagining, the play spaces for children that live in the area. So people that live here probably work in the farm valley at some of these. Maybe they work at the dairy farm, or they work on the fields here somewhere, or maybe up at the park maintenance shed there, or who knows, even the diner across the street. Here, I love these trees. This is the Douglas fir assets. They're great. They just add so much, I guess, depth and variety to the forests in here, because they're so tall, which is very true of the trees in the region. And I love sprinkling them in. It makes everything feel so much more real to me. Thought I'd fence off this area, kind of formalize the community a little bit, placing it behind the ditch there. And I think I put in a little more screening just to provide a little more privacy for the people who actually live here. Okay, now we're moving over to another plot of land. We've got a few little spurs here off this main road, or I guess more of a collector. And we're going to build in just a couple of generic little farms, put in some barns, some farmhouses, a few trees, a few fences in behind the ditches, and it's fairly simple detailing to make a nice formalized farm. This one was pretty quick and easy. At this point, I realized that the service blocks that I had before are gone. So some of these farm areas are actually missing a main building, because I was using service blocks for the main buildings and putting them in farmhouses. And I had actually heard from some other creators that these service block assets had been removed from the workshop, and that's why they disappeared from the build. So if I find some other ones, which I think they're out there now, I have to do a little hunting, but I think I'll be able to add them back in. Otherwise, I'm fine having the vanilla main building in the corner of that farm for now. Okay, so moving over to the wind farm here. I have been annoyed by these notifications off in the distance for a while. I probably should just leave them, but this building needs police coverage, fire coverage, and garbage collection. So I'm coming in, doing a little bit of added detailing. I still had the service block for garbage and fire. It seemed to be just the service blocks for industries that were missing. So that's for ore, wood, farm, all of that. So I had to think about what kind of asset actually suited this location. And these little log homes, I thought, worked really well because it's kind of almost like a park ranger kind of thing where they're a caretaker for this island, and they are the police, they are the garbage collection, they are the firemen, and they work on this island and they do everything. Now you'll see the garbage truck going back and forth there. There's not much I can do about that, but yeah, I think this worked out really well. Okay, and here I'm finishing up the detailing, and I think this ended up looking pretty good. I'm happy with it. Alright, that's going to be it for today's episode. While the town isn't quite done yet, I feel like it's a good start. I'm happy with the gravel pit, especially considering I was able to sneak in a couple of city services. The farm valley is really starting to fill out, and I'm looking forward to when this area is complete, but it still has a long way to go. I have a few ideas for the remaining parcels, including orchards, a botanical garden, or a fairground. If you have any ideas for this area, let me know in the comments. Lastly, I'm glad the wind farm isn't giving me any more notifications for service issues. I'm excited to get the port and forestry industry going, and I have a new custom asset that I've commissioned for this specific industry area. There wasn't anything like it on the workshop, and it's a defining feature of the BC forestry industry. I'm really looking forward to debuting that asset in the next episode. Again, if you have any name suggestions for streets, towns, or industrial areas, please leave a comment. Thank you so much for watching, and enjoy the cinematics. Take care, and happy building.